Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Paradigm Paradox, continuing Hugo's route. So, we were just eating and chilling with everybody. When I finished eating, I decided to ask Hugo about cleanup. Thank you for the meal. It was delicious. Let me take care of cleaning up. No need. He thoroughly shot me down, leaving me deflated. I don't know what I expected. Anyway, I should take some food to Lizzie. But before I could bring up Lizzie, Hugo thrust a plate full of food in my direction. Take it. I simmered it so it should be tender. It'll be easy to eat and digest. This portion is for Lizzie. He dished up the extra food before I even asked. I couldn't believe he was thinking of Lizzie and showing kindness toward her. Thank you. Just take it and go. Hugo's edge would probably never dull, but it was clear he had a good heart. I still wasn't sure how I'd get him to fully accept me, but it felt like we'd taken the first step. He doesn't want to admit he thinks you're pretty. I'm back. I entered the room quietly, just in case Lizzie was sleeping. I crept to her bedside and stole a look. Lizzie was still sleeping soundly. Sleep well and get better soon. I placed the meal on the bedside table and sat in the chair next to the bed. Exhaustion crept over me quickly. It had been a long time since I had a good sleep. I mean, you just woke up like an hour ago. So tired all of a sudden. Maybe I'd finally feel safe enough to relax. I'll just catnap until Lizzie wakes up. I closed my eyes, and before I knew it, I was completely conked out. I jumped awake as someone shook me. I must have dropped headfirst into dreamland. Yikes, so much for my catnap. Good morning, Spacey. I looked in the direction of the greeting and saw Lizzie sitting up in bed. Lizzie, you're awake!
You've been up for a while. You were sleeping so deeply it would have been a shame to wake you up.
Yeah, I guess I was pretty tired. But how are you, Lizzie? Do you feel okay?
I feel a lot better since getting some sleep.
Do you think you can try eating? We have some food that should be easy to digest. Lizzie's expression stiffened a little. She clearly picked up on my phrasing and had realized someone was hosting us. Her reaction was natural, given she had no idea what was going on, but Lizzie forced a cheerful smile.
I was just thinking about how hungry I am. I guess I'll dig in.
Oh, good. Take your time. Don't rush it. I gave Lizzie her tray, and she worked in her meal bit by bit. It relieved me to see she had an appetite, plus her color was returning. I hoped she'd recover more quickly from here on out. Suddenly, Lizzie stopped eating. Her spoon hung in midair as she mumbled something.
I think I remember a little of what happened.
Go on.
Some monster-like thing attacked me, and I was wounded pretty badly. And then, after that, I was in a hospital, but it wasn't like any hospital I'd ever seen. They gave me some kind of treatment?
Lizzie tried to explain as she grasped at her foggy memories.
After that, they gave me some sort of drug that made me fall asleep, but I still remember feeling like my body was being restrained.
Ryo Tomitsuka said something about Lizzie being in a secure area of the research district. I had no idea why she'd be restrained, though. Then I realized the researchers were probably afraid Lizzie would turn into a vector. See, I was like, I had no idea why she'd be restrained, and I'm like, girl, and then she's like, oh, it's probably because I think, see, she gets it. Because if she just left it at that, I'd be like, are you fucking stupid? Told you a million times she's going to turn into a vector, why wouldn't she be restrained? But she put it together, you know? Because at first you'd be like, wow, oh, yeah, you know? No doubt the commander knew of Lizzie's status. When I told him I wanted to visit Lizzie in the hospital, he blew me off. There's just lies on top of lies here. Resentment and helplessness weighed on me.
You know, I had a dream while I was asleep.
Oh?
Yeah, someone was looking for me. I wondered if they were looking in real life, too. I think the person in my dream was you. Did you take me away from that awful place?
I mean, not personally, but sorta. You were in the research district, Lizzie, but I wasn't the one who went in there and saved you. Someone else did, on my behalf, though. I knew nothing good would happen to you if you stayed there, so I sent for help and we brought you here. Lizzie looked at me with sad eyes.
You nothing good would happen, huh? Something like this, maybe?
Lizzie peeled back the hem of her top, revealing a strange mark on her skin. It was the same mark the Vectors bore, which is very similar, like, to the helixy kind of pattern that we all have, but without all the spikes and everything, you know? What is that? Is this a sign that she's turning into a Vector? I recalled how Hugo made a crack about Lizzie turning into a monster. My blood ran cold.
It just appeared all of a sudden. Is this some kind of disease? Am I gonna end up being covered in these things? I'm scared.
Shh, it's okay. Calm down. The comforting words were self-serving. Lizzie was panicking, and I knew I had to be the one to stay steady and calm. Rhea said he gave her an antibody shot. Hopefully it stopped the spread. I'm sure she won't get any more Vector-like than this. Lizzie, please listen to me. I'm going to tell you what happened and what's happening to you right now. Lizzie nodded, focusing on me as I spoke.
Whenever you know, please tell me.
Lizzie's response was weak. It hurt to hear it. I told her everything that happened. I told her about the Vectors, the thing that attacked her, and I told her about how victims of Vector attacks turn into Vectors as well. If Lizzie had remained in the research district, she too would have turned into a Vector. That's why I escaped with her.
But this marking, it must mean I'm going to go full Vector, right?
You were given an antibody shot. If you were going to transform any further, I think it would have happened by now. I guess you're basically half Vector, so we can't really say you're a normal human anymore. I explained what Hugo told me about some Vectors who maintained a human appearance and intelligence. And if you think about it, if they all have like the little charm things, because I was thinking, why doesn't Lizzie like transform like Hugo and Yukonami? But if they all have the same kind of little baubles like we have, like whatever the hell those little crystal things are or whatever, that we use to transform, that they might not need to transform to be able to go outside and breathe the air outside, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like we have to transform in order to go outside the colony, but they don't, right? But they're more vectory and monstery than say we are, but they also still have those charms to be able to transform into their half vector form. So like if we gave Lizzie one of those, she might be able to turn into one too, you know? So anyway.
I see. I'm not a human being anymore, huh?
Lizzie fell silent as she mulled over the situation. She closed her eyes as if trying to accept it. I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at the fact that, like, I am trying to talk around a bird jammed into my windpipe. I don't know why he does this. I'm like, it's gotta be weird. But it's probably comforting for some strange reason because his face is literally shoved into my fucking esophagus and it's like, but I'm talking and it's gotta be like, and my voice vibrating. Like, that's probably why recently, he, like, grumbles. Like, he doesn't talk, but he'll be like, and he just, like, makes these little grumbly noises, like he's trying to talk. But, like, I'm like, could be because most of what you hear is just jammed into my windpipe. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit. But it's just funny because it tickles a little. It's like, sometimes you're like, I'm trying to talk, and then you're like, okay, I can't talk. You got a bird jammed in my windpipe. But, like, that's just, like, it also hurts because his dagger toenails are digging into my chest right now. But, like, there's just something a little ticklish about having a fucking bird jammed into your fucking windpipe. Okay. I'm sorry.
You have to focus on the good news, right? I'm lucky you didn't become a mindless Vector.
Oh, Lizzie. Lizzie never failed to look on the bright side, regardless of how much she suffered. It made things easier for me, too.
All that said, there's one thing I've been super curious about for a while now.
What's that? Ask me whatever you want. I would gladly do anything for Lizzie if it would help her feel better. She was already starting to sound more like her usual self.
How come you've got all this top secret info?
Oh, right. I never told Lizzie about my secret activities with the balloons. Now that she knows that much, I may as well tell her everything. There's no real point in keeping secrets now. And anyway, I'm no longer a normal human either. Maybe that'll make Lizzie feel less alone. Listen, Lizzie, I'm sorry for keeping you out of the loop for so long, but I need to tell you... I proceeded to spill everything. about me getting superpowers, becoming one of the Blooms, and fighting the Vectors. When I finished, Lizzie's eyes were wide. She was most shocked about me battling Vectors.
So you're one of those superheroes we always talked about?
Yeah, I'm still a newbie, though.
You actually fight those monsters? Even though you're a complete klutz?
Yeah, and somehow I'm not too bad. I'm not great, but I ain't too bad. Yeah? I mean, you're not wrong, but is that really what surprises you most?
Well, graceful fights and rescues don't exactly fit the image I have of you. That said, a lot of things make more sense now. You always seemed like you were on the verge of telling me something. And that was it, right?
I'm sorry for keeping you in the dark. I know I made you worry.
Okay, I mean, part of me is like, why didn't you just tell me? But I guess you couldn't, given the circumstances.
Lizzie seemed to understand. That was a relief. Before I forget, can I ask you a question, too?
Sure, go for it.
Why were you even in the line of fire that day? I thought you'd gone back to the dorm. No, it's the same. So it's the only thing, because, like, in the Blooms route, you pretty much kill her. So you're like, okay, that's going to be harder now, being like, Lizzie's gone when we go back and do Ayamu in Tokyo. You're going to be like, oh, because now we've gotten a little more character development. We've had Lizzie a little bit longer. So it's like, ouch. Now it's going to hurt a little more than it did initially. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I'm supposed to feel more than I do, and I want to feel more than I do, but you didn't give me much time to get to know her, and now it's like, now we have it, and that hurts. But a lot of what we're doing in Yukonami and Hyuga's routes, and maybe even in Ryo and Ibuki's, is going to be having these conversations with Lizzie and going through this. And it's like, we've already done this, though. Like, I know, like, you'd have to do that as part of, like, a comment, but I feel like they could have done this better, where, okay, we have a little scene with our boyfriendo, maybe, like, we do, but, like, we could have had just, like, the villainous justice route, where, like, again, whoever you go and see is the one who leads you outside. That's how you know what route you're going to be on, kind of. But then everybody meets up outside. We're all there having that same conversation, so all the characters are there, so it's common, so you can skip through it. And then, like, maybe that, like, how you have different conversations with people, the dinner situation, like Yukonami bringing it to you when you're here with Lizzie, or you going there with Hyuga, is different. But this should be considered, like, common, and, like, since you've already done Yukonami's, it should be a scene that's skippable. Like, they should have arranged it a little bit better, because it's worded a little bit different, I think, but it's basically the same, and it's like, we've already explained this to her, and, like, to be fair, I don't really want to go through and have to explain it to her 4 fucking times. Like, that to me is like, yeah, I've done this. Now, also to be fair, I'm glad that we did it. 2 of the Blooms, 2 of the Vector guys, 2 of the Blooms, 2 of the Vector guys, because at least now we're doing this and we're like, okay, yeah, it's not my favorite thing, but fine. If we did it the other way and we did all of the Blooms and then we did all 4 of these, it's like, then I really would have been back to back to back to back going through all these scenes, and I would have been like, I'm gonna punch myself in the face. I don't like rereading the same shit I already read. Like, we already explained this to her, yada yada, we're done. You know what I mean? So, like, so doing it twice is like, I don't love it, but knowing I'm gonna have 2 other routes where I don't have to worry about sad to say, but, like, I'm not going to be doing it 4 times in a row. So then when we come back, it's like, okay, we've had, like, 12 hours and, like, not having to, like, do the same things over. Now with Ibuki, we'll probably do the same things over. Or maybe it'll change a little bit. I don't know. But, you know, it's like, I don't know if I really want to go through, like, the exact same common-esque stuff over and over in 4 routes in a row. That they could have somehow rearranged it so, like, they were skippable. You know what I mean? But that's why I tested it, and I was like, no.
So you've been curious, huh? I could tell you were hiding something from me, and it made me feel super alone. I guess now I know what you were hiding, though.
Because then she's going to say she went out to the thing, and it's like,
but on that day, I was kind of hoping you'd change your mind and come to the cafe like we'd promised.
I'm pretty sure this is almost word for word exactly the same. Like, it's essentially the same. They could have just, again, made it exactly the same if it's not already, and just let you skip it. So why was the reason you were there? Lizzie wouldn't have been hurt if I'd been more thoughtful of her feelings. Horrified, I covered my mouth with my hands, but Lizzie waved dismissively. Because, like, later on, when we have other scenes in Yukonami's route with her, it's her with Yukonami and stuff like that. So we'll have different ones with Hyuga, and so fine. But, like, this specific thing, it's like, we've already kind of done this.
Nah, even if you never showed up, I was gonna have some tea and cakes. You had nothing to do with it.
Still, I'm so sorry.
Like I said, no apology necessary. The only reason I haven't become a big old vector was because you went out of your way to save me.
Then Lizzie cast her eyes downward, but not before I saw them filled with sadness.
But with things the way they are in Theta, I guess I can never go back there, huh?
No, neither of us can go back to our normal lives again, Lizzie. But we can start new lives here. A lot's happened, and I know things are rough, but you're not alone. We had similar problems, but different circumstances. It was the best comfort I could offer.
I'd like some time alone to clear my head. But thank you, Spacey. Anywhere feels like home as long as you're by my side.
I feel the same way. My heart filled with warmth as I watched Lizzie struggle to try her best. Well, I'll be in the room next door. And then, like, in this one, we're gonna date Hyuga, so it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I see Lizzie, if I'm gonna be like, Lizzie, you could date Yukonami. I feel like, okay, let's get this out of the way. Poor Hyuga, I like him better than Yukonami, I think. Just vibe, like, I'm like, he's a little cuter to me. Like, Yukonami's too adorable. Okay, like, he's adorable, but he's, like, too adorable. You know what I mean? But I like Ibuki the best. So, like, let's get to the Ibuki route, so then we can be like, listen, Lizzie, we have to be stuck here. But you know what? I think you and Hyuga can make a good, cute couple. I don't know, like, Lizzie and Hyuga, not the best. But, like, Lizzie and Yukonami, also not the best. Me and Yukonami or Hyuga, also not the best, like, to be fair. You know? We are, like, two saucerite we might actually work with Yukonami, because she's, like, saucerite adorable. Kind of like he is. Like, her with Hyuga seems a little odd. But, like, you know. Whatever. That's generally how they, I'm so sorry. That's generally how they do it in Otome games, though. They always make her a little too cute. And you're like, I can't see her with any of these guys because they're all ridiculously hot and she's, like, too cutesy. You know what I mean? So it's not working for me. But, you know, but, like, some games do it better where you're like, she's really pretty, like, still a little cute vibe, but still pretty and kind of works with the guys, you know? Anyway. A short while after I left Lizzie's room, I started to hear sounds from next door. Lizzie was crying. Sobbing. She called out for her family in a hushed voice. Guilt crushed me like a pile of rubble. Was bringing Lizzie here really the right thing to do? See, this is kind of interesting because, like, in this route, she's like, was it right to take her away? And it's like, but if you didn't, she'd be dead. But we're thinking of that for ourselves. Like, she'd be dead, though. And then Lizzie would be like, yeah, but if Lizzie was given the choice, I mean, you'd think this would still be better than being dead, okay? Because you're alive, you're still human, you're maybe not fully human, but you're not a monster. But in the other timeline, when you go down the Bloom's route, she turns into a monster. I don't think she'd want to be a monster. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like, to me, like, you're going to turn into a monster that's essentially like an animal. All sense of who you are and you're gone. Okay, put me down. I don't want to live like that. I know that technically I am no longer there, so the little monster that's prancing around out in the wilderness, no clue that they were ever me. But, like, for the sake of what used to be me, put me down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but in this case, you're somewhere in between. You're like, I'm not exactly human. I got some weird power coursing through me, and I don't know what the hell, and I'm away from my family. Like, that would all kind of suck. But I still think it's better than somebody putting you down. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, you know? But, like, she's got to come to terms with that. And it's hard when you are the person watching because you're like, I put her in this situation. Because you don't know that if you left her, she would have turned into a vector and just been completely gone. You know what I mean? And you don't know how she's feeling right now about everything, and aside from being sad, so. Like, it kind of sucks. You're like, is it the right thing to do? I mean, yeah, considering the other option is the fact that you had to, like, punch her to death. I still couldn't be sure. Yeah. Because you don't know the other route like we do. The next morning, I went back to the campfire on a hunch. Sure enough, breakfast was being made.
Hey, morning.
Good morning, Yukonami. I looked around, but no one else was there. Is it just you today?
Yep, Ibuki already ate and took off somewhere. Hyuga also made tracks after we put breakfast together. He said to serve ourselves.
So they both went off on their own, huh? Doesn't seem like Yukonami minds. I took some soup and bread for breakfast and settled down to eat with Yukonami. He seemed happy to talk about anything, so I struck up a conversation about food. How many meals are served here each day?
Depends on the day, really. Hyuga makes dinner every night. Sometimes he makes breakfast, sometimes he doesn't. He usually doesn't make lunch, but if he's in a decent mood, he'll whip something up. If he doesn't prepare something, it's no big deal. When my stomach starts to rumble, I just grab whatever from the food stores.
I see. So only dinner's served with any sort of consistency. In other words, breakfast wasn't a sure thing. Glad I got the meal schedule sorted out. I mean, you didn't really, because it's like dinner and the question mark. Whenever there's no communal meal, I can throw something together for Lizzie and I. I finished breakfast, said goodbye to Yukonami, and headed back to Lizzie's room with her food. I mean, it's kind of like essentially like never lunch. On occasion, maybe on a special occasion, but for the most of the time, no lunch, always dinner. Breakfast is questionable. When I got back, I peeked in on her. She was still sleeping. She must be emotionally drained. I should let her sleep for now. I quietly set Lizzie's breakfast on the table alongside a scrawled note that read, "I'm going out for a bit." I needed to know more about all of this. I need to know if the choice I made was the right one. Then I can figure the rest out. But where do I look for answers? The colony was smaller than Theta, but buildings loomed everywhere. If I wandered aimlessly, I'd get lost in no time. Moreover, I'd arrived at night, so I hadn't noticed that the roads were actually in bad shape. A lot of the buildings also looked like they were on the verge of collapse. I needed to be careful and watch where I was walking. And things have been hectic, but I only just noticed this colony is filled with vectors. Tons and tons of vectors. But they seem pretty laid back, so I guess I don't need to worry. Is that one just sitting there chilling with its back against... I mean, I saw the one lounging on the ground, and we saw them before, but I just kind of was like, is it like two and a dog? But like, no, that one's just like chilling with its back against Bill's like, yeah, just contemplating the sky, man. College is heavy. It's like some college dude, like fucking smoking pot leaning against a like column. I don't, like, it's just so funny. Like, it's just so odd. The one lounging on the grass is like laid out like a cat or a dog. Come to think of it, this is the Vector's home. It makes sense they'd be roaming about. My past encounters with Vectors obviously put me on edge, but the colony's creatures didn't do much beyond nap in the shade of the buildings. Why aren't the Vectors here attacking me? Could it be they're not naturally aggressive? No, that can't be it. Well, we know that Moravia controls them. I was supposed to be looking around the colony, but I was distracted by studying the Vectors. Something caught your interest? Oh, Moravia! I had no idea how long she'd been standing there, but Moravia was watching me from a short way away. Her eyes shone with keen interest. This is actually the first time I've seen Moravia since I got to the colony. She didn't even show up for dinner last night. Moravia, where have you been this whole time? Right by your side, Spacey. No you haven't. That's why I asked. Doesn't look like I'm gonna get a decent answer. I mean, she's telling you the 100% truth. This is so cute. Because she's doing it and she's like, right by your side. And you're like, crazy bitch. No, she hasn't. Moravia's vague way of talking reminded me of my conversation with Ibuki. Last night I realized how similar they are. Or as Yukonami said, two peas in a pod. But what was their true connection? I'm curious, but now's not the time. Anyway, I doubted I'd get a straight answer. Moravia had said she wanted to tell me everything, so I decided to ask a different question. Will the Vectors here attack me? There's nothing to fear. They might approach you, but if you ignore them, they'll go away. Ignore them? I never considered the option to ignore the Vectors. If I showed them I'm not interested in interacting, would they even understand? Moravia's response was surprising, to say the least, but she just looked at me as if I'd said something amusing. It seems like you don't believe me. Have you ever tried telling a Vector to just move along? No. You always attacked them or froze up on the sight of them, right? You immediately decided Vectors are fierce beasts to be feared. I mean, to be fair, they came in attacking Beta, so yeah. I mean, I get Maravia's point. You've always attacked them or frozen up. You thought they were fierce creatures. Fair enough. Because, like, as we're seeing, they're not. But that's because you were controlling them and you told them to attack. So I attacked them because they were attacking. So it's not like I just saw one roaming around and I, like, went and, like, punched it for no reason. Like, they're not supposed to be in the colony. Like, they actually were, you know what I mean? Like, unless Maravia's like, well, no, we just send them in and they're just milling about. And then you attack them, which is why we attack back. And it's like, well, you're the one that's inciting the violence still, crazy bitch. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's kind of funny that she's like, you always just attack them. And it's like, I mean, but what kind of crazy pills are you trying to make me swallow here? Like, you know? Because, I mean, again, when the blooms go out and attack the vectors are just in the colony like, hey, I'm just here doing nothing, minding my own business, and we go and then start attacking them and then they defend themselves back. I could absolutely understand your point because it's like, you're right. Great, right. But we attack them and they've generally starting to destroy things. So, but again, to Maravia's point, it's like, well, yeah, they're destroying buildings, but they weren't attacking you, were they? Not until you attacked them. And it's like, you're splitting hairs here, girl. But like, you're trying to make problems. Will you stop? I need you to simmer the fuck down right now. You're driving me bonkers. Don't sit on my shoulder and just start honking at the ceiling. You're just being annoying. Shush. You know? Well, Maravia wasn't wrong. I wasn't sure what to say. She's not wrong, but she is also wrong because they're attacking. That's why we attack. It's never too late for a new perspective. Look, one of them is coming up to you right now. Maravia pointed, and I looked over to see one of the vectors lumbering towards me. My heartbeat kicked into high gear as it got closer. It looked like it wanted to attack me. I clenched my hands into fists and prepared myself. Stay back! I spoke in a loud, firm voice. Then the vector halted, made a sad crooning noise, and wandered in the opposite direction. No way. Because it was like, oh, I wanted to play. The very idea that I could simply ask a vector not to bother me. Granted, not just anyone can talk to a vector. You're special. That's why it worked for you. I'm special? Oh. No doubt Maravia was referring to my superpowers. Or so I thought. I hadn't intended to use my powers to talk to that vector, but I guess they worked on reflex. You should be able to communicate with any vector living in this colony. But as for the vectors on the outside, well, I can't guarantee they'll listen. Understood. I'll be careful. So in other words, I had nothing to fear from the vectors living inside the colony? If that was the case, I felt a lot safer. Oh, before I forget, will the vectors attack Lizzie? Lizzie wasn't well enough to go outside yet, but no doubt she'd want to go out when she felt better. I was worried about what might happen. Lizzie will be fine. Actually, she has a lot in common with the vectors now. They should recognize her as one of their own. One of their own, huh? It was jarring to hear the vectors would count Lizzie as one of them, but at least she'd be safe. What do you plan to do now? I'm probably going to go look around the colony for a bit. I don't know a lot about this place yet. Ah, so you're learning about us in your own way. Well, feel free to take a good look around. Maravia smiled and waved me off as I started my walk around the colony. After I'd gone some distance, I spotted a building that looked like it might be inhabited. I think I saw that building yesterday, too. It really does look like it's in good shape. As far as I know, the only people living here are Maravia, Ibuki, Yukonami, and Hyuga. Do they work together to keep this building looking nice for some reason? They all had their quirks, but none of them seemed like the type to be interested in home renovations and landscaping. I'll ask one of them sometime, but maybe not Hyuga. I feel like if I asked him, he'd bite my face off. But maybe my perception of him is what's keeping me from making friends. I continued to walk, my thoughts keeping me company. Then I spied someone up ahead. I wonder if we won't meet the professor in this route, because like in Yukonami's, that's when you find out who lives in this house. You know what I mean? And it's like it's like, doesn't really matter which one you do first, but like if you did this one first, you're like, Oh, okay. Like you have no idea. Ooh, who lives in that house? That's mysterious. And then in Yukonami, you meet the professor and you're like, oh. So it's like just like 1% more spoilery ish. You know what I mean? But like, it's not like it matters. Because we have not figured out all of his secrets. We just know he exists now. Oh, hey, it's Hyuga. Think of the devil. Does this count as good or bad timing? Several vectors crowded around Hyuga. He didn't notice me. He was busy fiddling with something. When I got a better look, I saw it was a gun. I remembered seeing him using it when we fought, so he's the one with the magic thingy and the gun. Okay. Hyuga appeared to be given the gun a once-over. It was a menacing sight, to be honest. I started to get a bad feeling in my gut. What does he plan to do with that? My heart was pounding, but I couldn't leave now. I steeled myself and approached Hyuga. He's cleaning his gun and making sure it's in good working order. It's good. Good gun maintenance. At that, he finally noticed me and turned to face me. I know nothing about guns or gun maintenance, but I just know that if you have a gun, you have to keep it maintained. You don't just, like, keep it and do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta keep it maintained. So it works properly and shit like that, right? I would assume. Hey, what are you doing? He didn't seem interested in responding to me and just returned to fiddling with his gun. Are you going somewhere? Changing my question finally yielded a response. Well, yeah, I'm off to attack a colony. Kinda a dumb question, to be honest. By a colony, do you mean my home colony, Theta? It's the only one worth targeting. Hyuga's answer left me shaken. Hyuga's answer. Did I say answer? Answer left me shaken. Girl. His answer left me shaken. I swear to God, he's gonna go pack his car. How can I make him reconsider? I doubt he'll listen to an appeal from me. But now that I know what he's got planned, I can't just stand by and watch him do it. I stopped hesitating. I'm going with you. What? Hearing the words out loud made me wonder if I'd made the right decision. What could I hope to accomplish by going with him? I mean, seriously. Definitely a traitor now. But if I stay here, I won't be able to do anything at all. If I go, at least the opportunity to help the colony might present itself. Take me with you, please? The look on his face, he's like, Like, he's really trying hard. It's like a loading screen right now. He can't quite figure out what's happening. It's just the wheel going around and around. I stared at him with firm resolve. Hyuga peered at me through narrowed eyes. So I let you tag along, then what? Are you seriously suggesting you join me in trashing the colony? Of course not. I wouldn't trash it. I would say I wouldn't trash it. Oh no, it's just like, of course not. Of course not. What are you up to then? It's not like you're a member of the Blooms anymore. Oh wait, is this to uphold some precious superhero vow about protecting the weak? His words were thick with mockery. I felt the urge to snap back. I might not be part of the Blooms anymore, but I was born and raised in Theta. Why wouldn't I want to protect its people? We don't need a reason to help others. It's just human nature. For a fraction of a second, a hint of emotion flickered in Hyuga's eyes. Human nature? It's pathetic. Can't say you ain't got a sense of duty, though. You think the people at Theta'd show any thanks even if you did protect them? I'll let you in on something. The second you took off, your friends in Theta wrote you off. You still want to stick your neck out for people who despise you? Think you'll be able to fight for them when you see the hate in their eyes? You really prepared for that? He pummeled me with questions I couldn't answer. What he's saying makes sense. Once I'm seen with Hyuga, it won't be easy to convince the Blooms I'm still on their side. But even if they do wind up hating me, I can't stand by and let innocent people get hurt. I just can't. Even if they decide to turn against me, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Don't look before you leap, eh? Just as I was about to give up, Hyuga turned his back and started walking away. Come knock yourself out if you want, but if you get in my way, I'll off you myself. Hyuga's cold threat was delivered so smoothly I felt my blood turn to ice. No, I can't let a threat like that intimidate me. I gotta follow him. Hyuga started to head out of Tau. Some nearby vectors began following him, even though he never gave the order to do so. I quickly transformed and hurried after, determined not to be left behind.
Don't leave me behind, I want to come play too!
Hyuga and the Vectors began sprinting as soon as they got outside, so I picked up the pace too. Hyuga shot me a warning look as I ran behind him, but he remained silent. As I struggled to keep up, I worried about Lizzie. Was it alright for me to leave Lizzie behind? I shouldn't go too far away, even if I intend to return as soon as possible. I feel like I'm sorry. I feel like us going to Theta and like maybe running into the Blooms should be a really good place for one of the short bad endings. You know what I mean? Like instantaneous death. You know? Like they should kill me when they see me. Or we get in the way and Hyuga does. But it was too late to turn back now. I didn't want to lose sight of Hyuga and the Vectors. I had no choice but to keep going. I'm sorry, Lizzie. I know you'll worry about me, but I swear I'll be back soon. Please wait for me. This is why a bad ending would be really good when we get there. I'll be back soon, don't worry about me, and dead. With that internal apology to Lizzie, I refocused on keeping up with Hyuga, especially if he's the one that kills me, because, like, you know? But, like, I think most of the bad endings, it's always been like, oh, you've kind of already bonded with that person, and I don't think we're bonded with Hyuga and him killing me. Would feel bad for us as the player, but I don't know if it'd feel bad for her, aside from, like, well, shit, I'm dead. But, like, it wouldn't be like, oh my god, he killed me and oh, that hurts because I care about him, you know, or he wouldn't feel bad about it. So, after running for a bit longer, I started to hear a noise building up behind us. What's that sound? Take a look. They're in excellent form today. I turned at Hyuga's suggestion and saw one of the Vectors galloping madly toward us. Huh. Did you order this Vector to follow us too? No. It's attracted to your presence. I'm attracting it? What do you mean? You're attracting it because you're still something close to a human. Does that mean Vectors are attracted to humans? Is that why they attacked Theta? It was a fascinating line of thought, but hard to mull over while being charged by a Vector. I hurriedly changed mental gears. Oh, maybe we're not going to go to the colony at all. We're going to fight the Vectors. Right, I just have to do what Moravia said. Stay back! But the charging Vector didn't miss a beat and continued barreling on. What? But the other Vector listened to me! Hyuga snorted with amusement at my visible fluster. You thought that'd do it, huh? Let me guess. Moravia taught you that trick. Did she also tell you it's useless outside the colony? Oh! You should be able to communicate with any Vector living in this colony. But as for the Vectors on the outside, well, I can't guarantee they'll listen. That one's fixed its sight on you. If you want to stop it, you better act quick. With that, Hyuga dashed on ahead. I was at a loss. I had no choice but to prepare to face off against the Vector. I like how he doesn't even bother to stay. But I don't want to beat it up like I did to the Vectors back in Theta. I could see Tao's Vectors in my mind, peacefully napping and sunbathing. Go easy on it? Attack despite your hesitance. I feel like she's going to go easy on it. Yep. Oh, not even a save point. Okay, so this is not like a death end. What should I do? I don't want to hurt it. Now that I knew Vectors had once been human, I couldn't stand the idea of using force. I know. I'll take a shot at its feet. Maybe that'll startle it and it'll turn around. There! I used my psychokinesis to lift a chunk of rubble and fling it in the Vector's path. The Vector slammed on the brakes, surprised. Phew, it stopped. The Vector's surprise shifted to curiosity. It turned its large eyes on me. When I was sure it was calm, I approached and stroked it. There's nothing ahead that you want. Go on and run back home to Tao. Maybe reasoning with the Vector was foolish, but it was worth a try. Please go home. If you go inside Theta, I'm gonna have to fight you. I don't know if my message got across, but the Vector sniffed me once, turned, and headed back towards Tao. I listened. So glad I tried talking to it. I watched it lumber on its way before continuing my own journey. It's interesting because I thought what Moravia meant was like, because there are wild Vectors. There are ones that are outside that have never lived in Tao, and okay, we round them up and we bring them back, right? But this one, the way she said that almost was like, oh, you got out, go back home. But like, that would imply then once they leave Tao, then all of a sudden they become wild and crazy, maybe because of the atmosphere. I'm assuming it's supposed to mean like, okay, that one's a wild one that's just out here in the wilderness, not one that came from Tau. But then it's just weird that she words it like, go on home to Tau now, go back where you came from. As opposed to like go to Tau where you can have a place to belong type of a thing. Because like, we know from Yukonami's route there are ones that are out there in the wild and we kind of bring them back to Tau, So like, maybe that was just worded weird? I don't know. Anyway. Yikes, that took a lot of time. I need to hustle if I want to catch up to Hyuga. I dashed off in the direction Hyuga went. After running for a while, I noticed an odd dust cloud in the distance. Is he fighting the blooms? Did they come outside and meet him? There! It's gotta be Hyuga and the Vectors. I caught them before they reached Theta. I upped my speed a notch and drew alongside Hyuga. Hyuga seemed to sense I was coming up behind him, but he said nothing. His gaze was fixed solely on our destination as we ran. The wild look in his eyes made me tense up. How can you make that kind of face? Why are you so excited about this? I recalled my suspicions from earlier. Hyuga said that the Vectors were attracted to me because I still remember a human. But if Vectors are drawn to humans, then maybe Hyuga's also drawn to them. Hyuga, why do you go after humans like this? What's your reason? Reason? Hyuga suddenly stopped running, and I came to a hasty halt as well. The Vectors who were running with us all seemed to notice that Hyuga had stopped. They joined us, waiting for his next move. I was prepared for him to ignore me, but he stopped so suddenly. Is he going to answer me? I held my breath as I looked into his eyes, and saw Hyuga match my gaze with a look of pure hatred. Ooh. Those eyes. Hyuga's eyes clearly said I was no better than any other human, all of whom he loathed. Reason's simple. I hate them. My knees started to tremble as I bore the brunt of Hyuga's quiet rage. Oh, he looks psychotic right now. No, I can't give in to fear. If I want to know more about the Vectors, I need to learn more about Hyuga, too. This is his, puppet face, but it's an unhinged puppet that's gonna murder you in a horror movie. I need to stop Hyuga no matter what it takes. I need to get through to him right now. Yeah, to get that hideous murder puppet off his face. I summoned my courage and took my best shot. If you can convince me a reason for attacking humans is valid, I'll accompany you. I was serious. Regardless of whether I was capable of joining him, I wanted to be on his side. And then he looks at you like this and is like, he's kind of adorable. And it's like, you went from unhinged murder puppet to like, kind of cute. Like, that weirds me out. Don't do that. Don't do the murder puppet face. I don't like it. You talk a big game, but there's no way you'd ever do that. He clearly had no intention of taking me seriously. But I wasn't about to back down. While I thought about my next move, Hyuga spoke again, his voice laced with sarcasm. You were just going off about how you don't need a reason to save other humans. But do you really think all people are the same? Think for a minute. Humans fight each other, trick each other, hate each other. But it's just human nature. It's the kind of creatures they are. The strong exploit the weak so they can climb to the top of the food chain. They use common people to get there, then throw them away. True. You want to help others so you can feed your own ego. I hate people like that, so I kill them. It's a simple enough reason, right? Hyuga... I couldn't help but wince as Hyuga spoke. He talks about this in a pretty specific way. Is he speaking from his own experiences? I thought back to what happened while we were transporting Lizzie from Theta to Tau. Because here's the thing, yeah, they toss you away. Yukonami found Hyuga outside, so it's kind of like... Hyuga might not have come from Theta. Maybe he came from a different colony, but it was like... They were doing experiments. He didn't, they just chucked him outside with like they do with the other, like, Vectors, whatever, just chuck him outside. Throw him out in the wild. Hyuga, Moravia, and Yukonami, did they all become part Vector the same way Lizzie did? I'm sure I'm right. Hyuga severely mistrusts humans. It's because he was betrayed by humans in the past, wasn't he? I spoke my thoughts out loud. Could it be You were once a regular human that changed, just like Lizzie? If what happened to Lizzie also happened to you, then it's no surprise you hate humans. And I mean, the researchers who just watched as Lizzie turned, the commander who knew everything but still took Lizzie away from me, the authorities who knew that vectors were humans once but still conspired to make the Blooms fight them. They can't get away with this. I felt a black cloud of emotion billow up inside me. It's not that I believed all humans were bad, but there was a lot of truth to Hugo's description of human nature. Won't you tell me about what happened to you? I feel like listening to you might also help me sort out some complicated feelings of my own. Hugo pierced me with his eyes. Felt like he was sizing up my sincerity. Then he spoke.
Fine, I'll talk. I was human too, once upon a time.
I knew it, but I'm surprised he's actually telling me. My spirits lifted a bit as I listened to Hugo's story. Really? Your spirits lifted? I feel like our spirits shouldn't be lifting listening to the story, whatever it's going to be. It's going to be like, I feel like my spirits lifted because he's trusting me, but then they also crash down even lower because it's going to be cold and heartless and sad what people did to him.
When I was human, I worked as a researcher.
Oh, okay.
I studied the environment around Theta. One day, my associates and I were selected for an experiment taking place outside the colony. The outside world was dangerous. I didn't want to go, but I was timid and let myself get strong-armed into the project. I was anxious the whole time we were outside surveying. Turns out I was right to be worried.
It's kind of funny, like, I was timid, timid little Hugo with glasses being a nerd, like over there, I don't know, guys. I don't know if we should go outside. I'm a little scared. And then he turns into this. Just imagining the glasses. It'd be funny as shit, though.
Hey, I'm done collecting my soil samples.
How are you progressing? Oh my god, I have an itch in my ear. You know when you get an itch inside your ear canal and it's like not where you can like scratch? It's like in that area and oh my god. Oh god, it's driving me bonkers, guys. Oh, nothing is fixing it. You know when it's like so deep in your ear canal? It's like too deep. You'd have to like rupture your eardrum or it's like in your throat, like where your ear and throat connect. Oh, I hate it.
I'm done too. Hey, you haven't finished?
Sorry, I'm finishing up as fast as I can.
Your body's as slow as your mind. Step it up a bit, would you? You might have a spark of aptitude, but that's not nearly enough to be a decent researcher.
I apologize.
Ha! That guy practically wet himself when he heard we'd be doing an outdoor survey. I don't get what he's afraid of. Our suits are state of the art. Maybe he's got an aptitude for cowardice too.
Alright, that'll do it for gathering samples. Why don't we go a little further out and continue our surveying?
Sure, may as well.
But we shouldn't go outside our designated area.
We won't be going that far anyway. Easy enough to write off as a miscalculation.
But we know what to expect in this area. If we go any further out, we have no idea what might be waiting for us there. Oh god, so he's gonna be like, I didn't want to do this. They dragged me, I got attacked, and then chucked aside like garbage. You know, I can understand him being pissed about this.
If you want to chicken out, go ahead. Just know that if you don't participate, we'll mark you as absent on our official report.
I'd rather you didn't.
Then stop whining and get your butt in gear. If we waste time, we won't have enough reserve oxygen to get back to the colony.
The colony seems to be like a foot away.
Nothing particularly special in this area. That's a bummer.
Huh.
Did you find something?
I'm not sure. I saw something move over there by that rubble.
Maybe it's a new kind of animal. If that's the case, we need to identify it.
Sorry. Maybe we shouldn't rush in.
It'll be fine. You're scared of your own shadow. Whoa!
Jeez, what is that?
Run! Let's get out of
here! Hey, wait for me!
Make yourself useful for once and distract them!
What? Huh? Oh my god, that guy like pushed him. Purposely tripped him. You can always run faster than the person you trip in the zombie apocalypse.
My colleague shoved me toward the Vector to buy time for their escape. Of course, when I fell in front of it, the Vector slashed me pretty badly and sent me flying. Luckily, I landed outside the Vector's line of sight so it didn't finish me off. Instead, it chased my colleagues as they ran.
I hope it killed them. Like, listen, no offense, because it's not like, oh my god, we were all running and Hugo got attacked and they didn't help you, because everyone was running for their life. That one guy purposely pushed you, and the other guys were being dicks. But the guy who pushed you kind of deserves to die. Hugo's mouth twisted as he spoke about the past. His voice was steady, but it was coated with a steely edge of resentment. What a terrible turn of events. No wonder Hugo holds a grudge against humanity. I don't know if I'd be pissed at all of humanity just for that group of assholes, but sure.
My fellow researchers never even looked back as they ran. Still, I was naive back then. Thought for sure they'd send some help. I waited with only the agony of my injuries to keep me company, and no one ever came. It's funny in a twisted way, isn't it? Sure one of those rats must have made it back to Theta in one piece.
Oh, so he did come from Theta, okay.
So basically, they never even spared a second thought for me. They kind of cared less if I died out in the wilderness.
Hearing Hugo's story was so heart-wrenching, I unconsciously clenched my fists. It's kind of awful.
I was grievously injured and my protective suit was torn. No human can last outside for long. I just laid down and waited to die. And then help finally came.
Yukonami.
Hello? Is someone there? Whoa, a human! That's not the kind of thing that pops up very often out here. Looks like it doesn't have any tags. Guess no one will mind if I take it home.
As if he's a stray dog. I love that. That's so funny. He's like, he doesn't have any tags. He must be wild. He must have escaped. He doesn't have a home. If you had tags, I'd have called your owners. Like, that's fucking hilarious. Oh, Yukonami.
No, but it's in really bad shape. Poor thing must have been mauled by a Vector. If I bring it home and promise to take good care of it, maybe Moravia will let me keep it. Whatever. Just save me. Where am I? Oh, are you awake? It was touch and go for a while there, you know.
Hello, and congratulations. From this day forward, you're one of us. Now, I wonder if he and Yukonami can... they also, again, they have the charms. But I'm also wondering if it depends on how long were they brewing Vector inside of them before they got the antibody. You know what I mean? Like Lizzie was only for a short period of time. Hugo might have been longer, so that's why he might have more powers and be a little more Vector than she is, type of a thing.
One of you? Who are you people? I'm Yukonami, and this is Moravia. You're a Vector now, just like us. Oh, but you don't even know what a Vector is. It's that thing that cut you up. What? No, but the monster... It looked more like...
There are two kinds of Vectors. We might look human on the outside, but our biological makeup is different. We're sentient Vectors. I saved you with my antibodies. Oh ho ho! So the antibodies, that makes it sound like Moravia has the antibodies. And that's why the researchers don't use them to save the Vectors, because it's not that they can and they refuse to. It's the fact that they don't have Moravia. Moravia makes the antibodies. But even if they had Moravia or they had the ability to make them, would they do it? Because they keep trying to research. So maybe they're trying... Not that the researchers are good, but like maybe when they have the people that turn into Vectors, instead of like putting them down or whatever, they keep them sedated, whatever, because they're trying to experiment to like find a way to stop them from turning into Vectors. But because they don't have Moravia, Moravia's like, oh yeah, I got blood, we make antibodies, we're good. You know what I mean? Moravia is the magic answer here, because that's what it makes it sound like. Like, I saved you with my antibodies. Not, oh, we injected you with an antibody. Her antibodies. It was close, but you narrowly escaped death. There's obviously something special about you.
I hauled you all the way back here, and then Moravia saved your life. Don't forget to thank us, alright? Oh, but since I'm the one who found you, that means you're my pet. Pet? What? I'm not sure what either of you were talking about. Like I said, I'm your owner now. I always wanted a pet of my very own. You don't listen to a thing I said. Still, you two did save me. You're already far more honorable than the men who betrayed me. I was at death's door when Yukonami found me. When he said he picked me up, well, he was being literal. Yukonami brought me back to the colony and Moravia did what she could to save me. I owe my life to both of them.
I see. Hyuga's story washed over me. I couldn't think of a good way to respond. Hug him? Probably not going to like it, but just do it.
Humans abandoned me. Vector saved me. Since then, I've been in their debt. I'll follow them to the end of the world if I have to.
Then Hyuga paused, sighed, and dropped his shoulders a little.
That said, I admit these guys behave like wild animals. There are a lot of things that I need to take care of.
True, it was hard to imagine Moravia and Yukonami getting by without Hyuga to take care of them. I had them figured out now. Hyuga, Yukonami, and Moravia were in a symbiotic... Oh, camaraderie. I glanced away to, look at my computer for a hot second, and I was like... And so I saw symbiotic... And I'm like, a what? And, yeah. I know what the word camaraderie is, but, for God's sakes, don't look away when there's a giant-ass word there. Right after symbiotic camaraderie. That's a mouthful of a phrase. Instead of one of them being in charge of the others, yeah.
What's ironic is that the Vector attack didn't kill me. Gave me powers instead. So I decided to take revenge. Revenge against the people who betrayed me. Revenge against the people who made me hate humanity. People are filthy and treacherous. Vectors aren't perfect beings, but there's no question they're far purer than any human.
I mean, to be fair, they kind of just minded their own damn business, and they're attacking strange things outside in their territory. Hyuga fell silent. He turned and faced me again.
There you go. That's my story. Now do you get why I despise humans so much?
Yeah. Yeah. She said this. Okay.
So what now? You going on the attack with me?
Are we? I couldn't bring myself to meet his sharp gaze and kept my eyes averted from his. What Hyuga went through is horrible, and I understand why he wants revenge. But I don't want to attack innocent humans. Hyuga was betrayed by a handful of bad people. He'd been human once. He had to understand that good, kind humans exist too. Right, you should have to understand that because you were a good, kind human, Hyuga. I think I understand your feelings. A little, at least. But the humans who wronged you were just a few of many. Why do you hate all humans?
You haven't listened to a word I said. The weasels who betrayed me, they weren't special. They were just exhibiting human nature. Behind every smile lurks a filthy, greedy heart. That's the side of humans that always surfaces. They all talk themselves up, but they don't hesitate to put their lives above everyone else's if it means their own survival. Human nature itself is detestable. So all of humanity is my enemy.
And this is where you wind up, huh? Out to attack innocent people?
That's right. You got a problem?
His tone was harsh, but something in his eyes suggested he wasn't as confident as he tried to sound. I can't attack humans. Does it make you feel better? Do you feel like a big man? Does it make you feel better? I mean, I can't attack humans is true, but I kind of feel like to get deeper into him is like, does it make you feel better? Because the answer is probably no. And I feel like we need to psychologically fuck with him. Oh, interesting. Okay, save file 1. Stop honking at me, bird. Alright, so I'm still going with does it make you feel better? Yeah. Because, does it make you feel better? Messing with the psyche. Do you feel any better when you're all finished?
What exactly are you asking?
When you're all through smashing up innocent people, do you feel any better?
Well, yeah. Obviously. Nothing makes me happier than running down the fools who thought they were above me. Let them be terrified for a change.
How does attacking and hurting innocent bystanders even count as revenge? They're not the ones who hurt you. It's a distraction, isn't it? From your pain.
Innocent bystanders? All humans deserve my hate. It's as simple as that.
Hyuga took a deep breath before continuing.
Of course, if the idiots who betrayed me ever show up, I'll be sure to kill them first. I won't even give him a chance to apologize. Make him repent in hell.
He's actually... Up until now, I thought Hyuga was struggling emotionally with the trauma from his ordeal. But no, that wasn't the full picture. At his core, he's furious about being trampled, about being treated as a weakling. Now that he has the power to change his circumstances, he's trampling the weak in turn.
Doesn't he realize he's being a major hypocrite?
Hyuga's simply repeating the violence that was inflicted on him. Hyuga was already agitated, but I took a determined step closer. Really? You get a thrill? You feel great? Are you sure about all that? As long as you keep attacking humans, your heart will remain empty.
No problem. I'll just keep mowing them down until I feel satisfied. It's gotta happen eventually. You talk like you know me, but I really don't give a rat's ass about being understood by you. Got it? I asked if you plan to go on the attack with me. Stay here if you want, but I'm going ahead.
It was clear that Hyuga didn't want me going along, but I couldn't exactly leave him alone. It's obvious he'll keep hurting humans until he finds peace. I wish I could make him realize that'll never happen. After hearing everything about your past, I understand why you hate humans. It's terrible. I feel so sorry for you. Hyuga's demeanor seemed to darken in an instant.
Damn you!
Oh! I would say you're shoving me against something. She looks terrified, but it's kind of hot. You're like grabbing me violently. Okay, sir, if there was like a wall or something and you were going to jam me against it, that'd be cool, but there's nothing here. It's unfortunate. Hyuga grabbed me by my shoulder and shook me. I mean, I would be afraid of him, but, you just like, oh, hi. This would be the moment you'd pin me against a wall, but we don't have a wall. He glared down at me with fiery eyes.
I told you I don't need you to understand. I don't need you to understand. Don't talk to me like you get it. And how dare you say you're sorry for me? Are you pitying me?
Ow! His grip on my shoulder grew tighter as he became more enraged. It's a CG, in case that wasn't obvious. I'm sorry. I try to usually be like, oh, CG, or like whatever, but then like sometimes I'm not that clear about it. I'm very sorry.
I don't need your pity. Ever.
I couldn't help but feel bad for Hyuga. He'd been treated horribly, then abandoned. Ow, jackass! That would be hard for anyone to bear. We're almost done, Bird, but now you're being a big fat douche. But if I admit I pity him, he might get angry enough to kill me. I'm throwing things, I'm sorry, but I gotta get the bird to his spot, because now he's being a jackass, and now I just kind of... Go over there. Get away. You're mean. It was a sobering... It was a sobering thought. I stayed quiet. Hyuga clucked his tongue when he noticed I'd gone silent. Oh, okay. Sorry. I was moving, and I accidentally, like for the last minute, I pulled my freaking microphone slightly out, and I don't know, so I'm just going to go back. I went back a couple scenes to right here. I think this is where everything started getting a little janky, so.
Not so chatty now, are you?
He flung me away from him. I stumbled and almost fell, but I righted myself just in time. Hyuga!
Shut up. Rest assured I got no pity for you.
Hyuga stared at me in thought for a minute, then a twisted smile surfaced on his lips.
Even though you're far more deserving of pity than I am.
Huh? He said something similar when I asked about the Vectors in Hyuga's group.
Man, I pity you. Don't worry about us. You got a lot more to learn about yourself.
I had no idea what he meant at the time. I thought he was just being mean-spirited. Even now, I wasn't sure what he was saying. What does that mean? I caved and asked, wow. Hyuga chuckled in response.
You really don't know anything. That's beyond pitiful.
Why am I the one who should be pitied? I thought back on Hyuga's story. His colleagues had pushed him around, stabbed him in the back, and left him to become a sort of half-monster. Despite all that, he says he feels sorry for me? What does he mean by that? There was nothing pitiful about my life, at least as far as I knew. Somehow I feel like Hyuga's talking about something else entirely. What did he know that I didn't? His scrutiny made me feel insecure and unsure of myself.
Man, you're annoying.
I reached out for him reflexively, but he ignored the gesture and started walking away again. The Vectors that were waiting patiently ahead fell into step alongside him. They were on their way to Theta. What can I do? I need to stop Hugo from going to Theta, only... Filled with unease, I decided to follow Hugo for now. Okay. Yeah. So, it was only a couple scenes. I didn't quite get all of that, but... It was basically like the last, like... That was like 2 minutes. So it was like the last, like, minute before that. I was like, ah, crap, because, like, I was trying to get the bird to his spot because he was being a dick. And I think as I was going over there, I might have, like, pulled... I'm not sure, because I came down, I'm like, wait, was my headset out or in? I don't no idea. And then I did pull it out. I was like, damn it. So I'm like, I have no idea. I heard one part of it sound a little janky, so I just figured I'd record that last, like, 30 to 40 seconds again and then finish up until we got to the end of this part. But anyway, not a big deal. So, but I will wrap this part up here. Now that I have, like, a little bit of 3 minutes that I gotta edit on to the last part. Whatever. I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.